So, Lucy Connolly has been released from prison, but this is not a pure cause for celebration because her persecution is ongoing. The release from prison is not because she's been acquitted of all charges or been forgiven for what she said or anything like that. It is because she has served the mandated 40% of her sentenced time in prison and is now able to be released on parole. So she's living currently outside of prison, but she's on parole, she's got to be supervised, and she's still going to be the target of a lot of media attention, as we can see from the way that the BBC very neutrally phrased this headline on their article related to this: "Woman jailed for race hate post released from prison." A very nice neutral way of putting it. And to be fair, she was sentenced under inciting racial hatred, but of course this is part of our two-tiered system, as we will look at later on when you compare and contrast this, as many people already have, with the Ricky Jones case. But there is more to that I don't think Stelios mentioned on one of the segments, or one or both of the segments that he's already done on it.
Can I just quickly say, if you compare that to the Telegraph's headline, Lucy Connolly released from prison, former childminder was jailed over single social media post shared in wake of Southport attack. So you get the Telegraph's, it's not like this is just objective, neutral truth. Like, that's one way of looking at it. And the BBC went with woman jailed for race hate post. I'm just saying, we all know this, but the spin of the BBC was so immense.
It's genuinely atrocious.
This is somewhat less than neutral reporting.
And I love the way
in the framing.
They're treating her as if she's some sort of paid-up BNP member who's been skinhead marching down the streets, screaming whatever.
When, as we found out during her appeal back in May, she not only childminds to diverse children, she also, I think, wasn't it that she sponsored a Nigerian to enter into the country as well? Yeah. Which some people were upset at, but, that doesn't mean, what she went away to prison for was a very...
She's far left, is what I'm hearing.
She shouldn't have gone to prison in the first place. Well, her husband is a Tory.
Yeah,
so that just goes without saying.
Conflict in the household. Oh, you're right, actually, you're right, yeah.
Actually, no, he was probably the one who suggested it.
Right. But the point is, it was one, impulsive post because of something tragic and terrible that had happened. And there
were plenty of mitigating circumstances related to her own history with losing a child due to...
Even if there weren't, it's like, okay, some Welsh choir boy goes on a stabbing rampage and kills a bunch of kids. I think it could be forgiven if people react on social media.
If people are upset about it.
Yeah, I mean...
Which clearly they were, but of course the state saw that as an opportunity to start hoovering people up and putting them in prisons, letting people go early, or at least releasing them from their prison sentences slightly early to make room for all of these dissident thinkers out there.
I call that Operation Arkham Asylum. I mean, the prisoners were out there literally popping champagne.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things is that the reaction to all of this from the mainstream was that this was all the actions of an independent and neutral judiciary. This was one line that was hammered home again and again and again. Every time anybody brought up the political nature of this case and her sentencing, we got told, no. The Parliament had nothing to do with this. The political institutions had nothing to do with this. This was all a part of the independent judiciary who were acting completely objectively. And we'll look at why that's a lie now. Because if you actually go to the documents from the court, from the Judiciary website talking about this particular case, here you see the sentencing remarks from the judge saying, she pled guilty to the offence of distributing material with the intention of stirring up racial hatred, which is different and a more severe crime to encouraging violence, I've discovered.
Really?
Yes, I looked this up through an article that I'm going to feature later on in this segment. But the case of stirring up, inciting racial hatred is a more severe charge in this country than encouraging direct physical violence. The state and the institutions put more moral weight on maintaining racial relations than they do discouraging violence.
I had no idea, but don't read my article on the latest Islander. Christ.
Very, very interesting. But, it says, it's summing up, it's a number of cases, bloody, bloody, blah, as everyone is aware. They've used tragedy as an opportunity to sow division and hatred, blah, blah. Part 4, it's a strength of our society that it is both diverse and inclusive.
Right, so we're going to pretend that this is ideologically neutral, even though it sounds like a Twitter thread from the secret barrister.
Yeah. Yes.
Incredible. And you get all those types on Twitter like, oh, the law is just infallible and totally objective. It was handed down by God onto a stone tablet. It's like, no, it's just shit libs. And
Yeah. That's exactly
as
it.
if you're supposed to pretend that like the sorts of people that go into the judiciary are somehow magically immune to all of the propaganda that they'll encounter going through university and all of the institutions that they need to go through so they can get credentials to get into the judiciary in the first place. Like they all go to university. They're subject to the same shit lib atmosphere of the woke universities that everybody else is, but we're supposed to pretend that as soon as they step through the doors of the court, that magically that vanishes from their minds.
It's just so barbarous that a Welsh choir boy goes and murders a bunch of children, and the first thing on this judge's mind is, oh, it's a strength of our society that's both diverse and inclusive.
Yeah, I mean,
it's horrific.
Like the innocent members of the public and sentences for those who incite racial hatred and disharmony in our society, because there's so much harmony in a society that will produce an Axel Ruder Cabana, isn't there? A society where the institutions meant to protect people, like Prevent, who had been called out numerous times for Ruder Cabana. Like, there are institutions in this country explicitly to prevent people from foreign backgrounds from just murdering people for no reason because they've been turned into ideologues for extreme views. But no, we've just got to pretend that, no, if it weren't for all of these evil Twitter racists, everything would work fine.
And the thing is as well, like, they'd done everything they could to try and incorporate Rudy Cabana as well. Like, he'd featured in, like, there was a sports thing, there was a Doctor Who thing.
Yep.
Like, you know, like, he'd been brought in and
they
given...
tried to assimilate him.
Exactly. And yet he still went and stabbed a bunch of kids.
Yeah. And can I add one further thing on the point number one? Is my understanding that Lucy Connolly didn't actually understand what she was signing, that she intended to stir up racial hatred. She doesn't say that she intended to do that. No. They're claiming there she pled guilty.
A lot of people claim that she has never contradicted that she pled guilty to inciting racial hatred and that that's what she understood that she was doing. There are lots of contradictory reports on that, but the actual evidence seems to suggest that she was basically pressured.
Yeah, she said she felt influenced in Alison Pearson piece, and these people claim to know her innermost mind. But if she said she felt pressured, she was in remand, and she was worried she'd be stuck behind her, I take her word.
She's denied bail.
Yeah,
she was obviously given terrible advice as well, because the other guy from Wales who pled not guilty got off scot-free because he had to have a jury, and the jury was like, no, of course not.
It took that jury 17 minutes to determine that he wasn't guilty.
Ricky Jones, yeah.
No.
You mean the Marine.
Yes, the Marine. It took the jury for his case 17 minutes to determine that he wasn't guilty, whereas Lucy was in a situation where she'd been denied bail, whereas the Marine had been granted bail, and she didn't know how long it would take to go to a jury trial. It could have taken months. She was already imprisoned on remand, and as such, she felt pressured into signing the guilty charge so that she could just get a result for it.
Yeah,
and
Jamie Michael, by the way. Jamie Michael.
Yes.
That's the guy's name.
And this is what she was sent for. She said, mass deportations now. This is me reporting it. Set fire to all the effing hotels full of all the bastards for all I care. While you're at it, the treacherous government and politicians with them. If that makes me racist, so be it. Obviously, not a good thing to post, not a wise or advisable thing to post. It's a Fed post, but she deleted it immediately. By the time she was even arrested, she had deleted her Twitter account altogether. This was not something that she was actually thinking would be actioned upon.
It doesn't represent a pattern of behavior either.
No, and they try and use absolutely ridiculous things to back up this idea that she was kind of acting in bad faith. For instance, they go through WhatsApp messages to try and justify their case, when it's obviously they're just scrambling for anything, and they just got lucky that, well, she was in a position where she decided to plead guilty anyway, because she didn't understand and she was feeling a lot of pressure. And again, clearly, if you actually examine this woman's background, she's not a racist. She's not a hateful person. She's just somebody who got genuinely upset about something awful that happened.
But the thing is, if she was a racist, how would the sentence have been any different?
No, of course, it
would have been exactly the same. She got the maximum sentence possible. But moreover, this is what our society has been degenerated into now. Hunting for the racist. Who's a racist? Who? Ooh, the racist. Quick, there's a racist over there. Get him. It's just like,
No, I agree. I think it's a useless, defamatory term.
It's a witch hunt.
Used to smear people. And furthermore, I think there are differences between people, and there doesn't need to be any moral weight put on that. But you can,
I just hate this, though.
You can recognise that without being a hateful person or a mindless bigot.
No. I love African and Asians. Say, oh look, it's just like, why does she have to have an opinion on them?
Yeah,
that doesn't prove she's a good person.
The grooming gang has sort of proved there are worse things even than being racist. I mean, people are so worried about even seeming racist that it's like, let's cover up the
same with Manchester even a bombing.
Torture of children, yeah.
Guy doesn't want to report this. There's a really suspicious Muslim guy here. Well, I'm not a racist.
I know.
Oh, well.
It remains the original sin of our society. And can I just say, even someone like Paul Embry, who's usually reasonable, said that she wrote something vile and inhuman. I don't think it was inhuman at all.
No, I think it's very human.
Very human. You're expressing frustration at an appalling, intolerable situation, which is the murder of the children and her own background with losing a child and so on. She's expressing, and just a general our society and the complete mess of it. And you're just a mother expressing frustration. Not doing it in the ideal way is also human, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not inhuman, it's very human.
We all slip up, and unlike other people, she wasn't saying it in person in front of a riled up crowd that could have acted on it.
She didn't draw a thumb across her neck. Calm down.
No. But of course, unlike Lucy, we'll find out there were mitigating circumstances.
Oh, well,
Mitigating circumstances for that. Obviously, back in May, there was this motion that Rupert Lowe put forward saying that towards Parliament, the continued imprisonment of Lucy Connelly is just a complete injustice, a waste of police and prison resources and space. Terrible things. Got 10 signatures. But actually, it originally got 12, and a couple of people withdrew. Can you guess who withdrew?
I know, so it won't be a fair game.
Yeah, Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell. Jeremy Corbyn, for half a minute, decided to take a principled stance on something.
Yeah. And you're doing a joke. It literally was 20 minutes. Rupert Lowe put up the tweet, and apparently 20 minutes later, he took it down. See, my guess is Corbyn saw that and thought, oh, that's a kind of humanitarian thing. That's the kind of thing I'm into. Then he realised, it's associated with the right.
Oh, it's the far right.
Rupert Lowe posted saying, it's great, we've got a consensus on this across party, blah, blah. He's like, take down.
Jeremy Corbyn's like, no way.
Yeah.
Same with John McDonnell, though. Like, again, that old Irish communist.
Yeah, you're both independents.
Yeah.
You can stand by yourself. You don't have a party allegiance to have to fall back on or anything. You could have just said, this is bad.
You literally got kicked out of the Labour Party for being communist.
If Corbyn had kept that signature, would you vote for him?
No.
It would have been a point in his favour, though.
Sure, but even then,
I'm voting for him anyway, so it's irrelevant.
Jeremy Corbyn can do any number of terrible things, but Nick's just there, 2 thumbs up. Fly the flag,
Keep the
Jeremy.
red flag flying, Jez.
Yeah. A red star will dawn upon us.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Based anti-establishment.
But of course, Starmer defended this sentencing back when this motion was put forward and Rupert forwarded the question. Starmer just said, it's the independent judiciary. I always support our independent judiciary.
We love our independent judiciary, don't we, folks?
Yeah, and again...
Totally independent.
So with this, the thing was, the reason that she's been released now, despite serving... You're supposed to serve 40%, as mentioned, of the sentence. She was sentenced to 31 months. It's not been 31 months. It's not been the 12.4 however much months since last October. That's because she was held in remand in prison after her arrest on the 6th of August, and she was held in custody until her sentence on the 17th of October.
As if she was going to, be a danger to the public or skip the country?
They certainly treated it like she would.
Jesus.
Because she was... look at this.
The racist mum. Get her in the...
Tuesday the 6th of August, 2024. She's arrested. Saturday the 10th of August, she's got a video link. Monday 12th of August, childminder appears in Northampton Crown Court. Yeah. And then Monday the 2nd of September is when she pleads guilty.
That is mad.
So almost a month.
That is mad.
Almost a month denied bail, and then it takes over a month after that to October for her to be jailed and sentenced.
This is truly Soviet, though, right? Like anti-racist Soviet regime that we're living under.
Where even as part of the sentencing, they give the party line.
Exactly.
Diversity and inclusion is our strength, comrade. It's the thing that keeps our society going.
Yeah,
yes.
That's all it was missing. You're right, was comrade. And by the way, she was in for 380 days.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
That's ridiculous. For a tweet that she deleted 3.5 hours later.
Incredible.
Like, is there any actionable proof that anybody acted on this tweet?
There's no evidence of harm, but that's the point. This is a political crime against the ruling ideology of the party, as they're literally telling us. The strength of our society is diversity and inclusion. It doesn't matter how many children they stab, and if you speak out about it in the wrong way, you're going to spend 380 days in jail.
Yes, which is a narco-tyranny once again. They love illegal migrants committing crimes, are their favourite people. They're passionately in love with them. The people they hate are decent British mothers who have been pushed too far.
Yes.
They're their absolute enemy.
Correct.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, you were talking about this article before we came on.
Oh yeah,
there was this article from 2 months ago, Alison Pearson's article on the mistreatment of Lucy Connolly.
Sorry, can I read she had been manhandled, bruised and starved?
Yes. So, according to Richard Tice and others who had gone to visit her in prison, she'd been put away in basically a high security block.
She's been treated like Tommy Robinson.
Yes, of the prison that she was in for multiple weeks. It was basically, they called the wing of the prison the Bronx because it was where drug addicts and schizos go. Violent
offenders who
violent offenders.
Can't behave normally anywhere, even in a prison.
Literally the closest we have to a gulag.
And she said that they manhandled her, pulled her arms behind her back so that they could cuff her for it. She got covered in bruises. And then for at least one day that she was withheld from having food.
Jesus
Christ. Yeah, she's coming out of the gym. They grab her, handcuff her so tight she gets all these bruises. They say, according to her, they say, Lucy, you're not special, words to this effect. Don't think you're special. And then they send her to this terrible place, doesn't eat. She reckons there's excrement on the walls. The police claim or the guards claim it's coffee. It's like, what? And then everyone in there is shouting to her, hey, Lucy, we know who we are. We'll look after you, but why are you in here with us? They're saying, like, why are you here?
The only consolation she gets is from the other prisoners.
Yes, the violent prisoners.
Oh, yeah.
In the violent block of this prison.
Who are like, you're not one of us. What are you doing here?
Yeah, and one of them even
this isn't very fair, Mr. Prison Officer.
Yeah, you're a political prisoner.
Lucy, we know who you are. Don't worry, you'll be fine here. Don't let the bats, can we say that word, get you down. And then one of them makes sure she gets a radio and yells at the officer to give it to her. So they sort of instinctively on her side. And they're sort of saying, you shouldn't be in here, we should be in here because we can't be helped. They actually, look, why the bleep have they put you here on this wing, Lucy? Her neighbour in the next cell demanded. We're the ones they can't do nothing with. So they have to be in there, but they're going, you shouldn't be in there. They're supporting her.
Based violent criminals.
Yeah.
I just can't get over.
Well, compared to the political treatment that she was getting from the prison officers, yeah, because it just seemed like they were just petty.
Oh, it's
petty tyrants. It's petty political tyrants.
It's 100. But this is how the Soviets treated their dissidents, because their dissidents are a threat to the regime. It's genuinely a threat to the ideological regime they're living under. Like Lucy Connolly is obviously not a physical threat to anyone. It's kind of adorable that the criminals are like, "What are you doing here? Don't worry, we'll look after you."
Yeah. Whereas,
I look forward to the sort of movie of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we win.
Yeah.
When we win, that'll be one of the first pieces of propaganda we make. This is all, of course, contrasted against Ricky Jones, who was in the middle of a crowd and called for the throats of people to be slit, neo-Nazis.
To the cheers of the crowd.
Yeah, to the cheers of the crowd, who were very in favour of everything he was saying. Well, he did get a jury trial, and they deliberated for just over half an hour before finding him not guilty.
Right.
And because people were very angry about this and said, hold up, this is a perfect example of the two-tier system that we've been complaining about, the secret barrister was deployed to run cover for it, where he says, of course, I'm not in favour of this, I don't necessarily know, but we don't have access to the full court transcripts or records of what was going on here, so we can't say. I mean, he was only charged with encouraging violent disorder, which is not
racial hatred.
Not as serious an offence as inciting racial hatred. Here's some of the stuff. Also, they used as mitigating circumstances as part of the case that he was neurodivergent.
Oh, yeah.
His mental health.
ADHD.
His mental health was playing up, and it can cause him to just blurt out stuff that he doesn't mean.
Lucy Connolly should have fallen back on that.
Yeah, because, of course, Lucy Connolly didn't have any kind of mitigating circumstances about why she, in particular, would be particularly sensitive to, children dying. or anything like that. But she wasn't afforded that same kind of charity. She wasn't afforded the same kind of light touch that Ricky Jones seems to have received.
Even the idea that she might have used mental health was used against her, wasn't it? In the sentencing remarks, that she would try and use mental health. She allegedly said that to someone, whereas Ricky Jones apparently just gets to use that. He's a far more political figure. He talks in that speech.
He was a Labour councillor.
Yeah, and he talks about fighting the National Front for years and years. He thinks we're still in those days. And he's a much more political figure, Labour councillor, as you say. Lucy's just a mum that's got caught up in it. Okay, her husband's a councillor, but she's a far less political figure who's been politicised by a corrupt regime.
Yeah, and he goes on to contrast this with the Lucy Connolly situation, because, of course, this is why he's been deployed, to try and diffuse that whole thing. And he says that, well, of course, I don't agree with the result, but it is completely different. And the two-tier myth is a conspiracy theory. And also, there was nothing political about this. She was never denied having the necessary mens rea. It's never been suggested that she was forced to plead guilty, and has never applied to appeal against her conviction on the basis of blah-de-blah-de-blah.
She said she was pressured.
Well, except for the fact that if you examine some of the other articles that have come out regarding this, that she was denied bail, she was held on remand, she did feel pressured into this. Lucy Connolly, according to this article, likewise stood a strong chance of being acquitted, because it's contrasting it with those other cases that we were referring to, and was advised to plead not guilty by the Free Speech Union, but denied bail and facing months in prison waiting for a trial. The mother and childminder pleaded guilty, believing it would be the quickest way to get back to her 12-year-old daughter. And on the idea that this judiciary is just completely independent, neutral, objective, and non-political, they bring up Lord Hermer, who's the current Attorney General, who was boasting after all of this that individuals were jailed can't hide behind their keyboards.
Lord Hermer is a communist subversive traitor.
I quickly went through his Wikipedia page, and there's some
abominable, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in there about all of the cases that he'd brought forward. Where there was one case where some refugee invader had come in across the channel and just said, "I'm 16, let me in." Mm-hmm. And Lord Hermer was trying to challenge the CPS standards of how you judge somebody's age when the guy was clearly in his 20s, and the Italian authorities said, well, he told us he was 26. But Lord Hermer's just there like, well, how can we know? Is it really fair to judge how old a man is by how old he looks? All for the sake of making sure that some foreign invader could get free access to our country, and by extension, free access to us, our people, our children, who we all know that they have no bad intentions for whatsoever. So the idea that this was completely apolitical, neutral, objective, independent judiciary is absolutely ridiculous from the evidence that I've seen. And while I'm very, very glad that Lucy Connolly is out of prison now, she is still on parole. She's still under supervision. She's still being persecuted for something that she should never have been charged with in the first place.
Yeah, and the more she gets attacked on Twitter by these lefties, with their, she pleaded guilty, or blah, blah, or look at the tweet, this terrible tweet that they keep reposting, this tweet that just inspires violence immediately. They all keep posting it. But the more they do that, the more I like Lucy Connolly, the more she becomes... They're like, she's not a martyr, she's not a hero. It's like, if you keep posting your awful tweets, the more she becomes that, actually.
I keep seeing them just calling her a racist. She's a racist. Okay, but what? So what? Let's assume she is. That doesn't change anything.
Or they say, remember, she pled guilty, as if that's like this total own. Yeah. Yes, we know the circumstances. And
we know the system.
I know, and people like Mogg fell for it, Reese Mogg, like this sort of, he says, well, look, Ricky Jones had a jury trial, Lucy didn't, and that's the key difference. It's like, yes, but why didn't she, as you've discussed? But they missed these key points. And Lucy herself probably thought she was still in England. When she pled guilty, she probably thought she was still in a country called England, which has laws.
That was her greatest mistake, really, wasn't it?
Who are the men that pick for scraps amongst the ruins at the end of history? You should know, because you encounter them every day. Between the towering buildings of a fallen empire, we find the Fellaheen, the historyless men, who know nothing of the turning of the cosmic wheel and find themselves outside of civilization itself. Cut loose from the great chain of being, they represent the loam into which our dying culture will return. That is, unless we choose to take up the burden once again. This Fellaheen condition, is the subject we explore in issue 4 of Islander magazine. On sale while stocks last and available worldwide at shop.lotuseaters.com.